They say it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and it's also a major target for terrorists. And Britain has got its share of them, the Summer Olympics in London.
That's right. The Games kick off next week, and questions have been raised about security. But as Eric Stakelbeck reports, British authorities are taking potential threats very seriously.
Organizers of the 2012 London Olympics have said the Games will be, quote, a symphony of inspiration, uplifting and unifying. For Britain's Islamic radicals, however, the Olympics are providing inspiration of a different sort. Over the past month, British authorities have made a series of arrests in connection with terror plots against the Olympics. They arrested others, like Islamic convert Richard Dart, for separate plots against London targets. Dart is reportedly a follower of this man, Anjem Choudary.
The Olympics is about division. It's about separation.
Will you have a presence? Will your group have a presence?
We will have a huge presence everywhere, wherever the people are gathering, for, the celebrations or, watching the events.
Anjem Choudary leads demonstrations calling for Great Britain to live under Islamic Sharia law. He told CBN News that true Muslims should oppose the Olympics. British authorities are concerned that some will do much more than that. Among those they've been monitoring is a suspected al-Qaeda terrorist who's visited the Olympic site at least 5 times. Now, security for these London Olympics is going to be the tightest this city has ever seen. So tight that the military is actually installing missile batteries on some of the residential rooftops here around the Olympic site in order to ward off a potential airborne terrorist attack.
Such a massive event in the United Kingdom with such massive international coverage is going to be a very attractive target for terrorists, and I have no doubt whatsoever that terrorists have considered carrying out attacks against the Olympics.
Retired Army Colonel Richard Kemp commanded British forces in Afghanistan. He told CBN News that a 9/11 style attack involving airplanes is just one way a potential terrorist could target the Games.
And maybe a large vehicle-borne bomb packed with explosives parked in a place where maybe it wouldn't get into a stadium, but could well be parked among people who are coming to and from the stadium, causing devastation. And then, of course, for smaller devices, maybe multiple suicide vests, perhaps packages left in places calculated to cause damage.
Britain has spent $2 billion on security for the Games, and there will be more British troops on hand to protect the Olympics than there are in Afghanistan, making it the largest military presence in London since World War II. Yet security cracks remain. In recent weeks, several people on a terrorist watch list were able to clear passport control at Heathrow Airport. Their intentions unknown. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, London.
Thanks, Eric. You know, those who claim Islam is a religion of peace, it's just nonsense. But nevertheless, you ask yourself, what kind of a religion is it that wants to kill people, that wants to immolate people, blow themselves up and carry others with them? What kind of religion is it that says if you kill people in jihad, you're going to paradise and you'll have 72 virgins and all that nonsense? Why do they believe that? You ask yourself, what is it? You know, Christianity is a religion of peace, and we're supposed to live in peace with one another. Blessed are the peacemakers, for those kingdom of God. Peacemakers. These people aren't peacemakers. They're violent terrorists. They want to destroy people. So Brits are going to have to spend a couple $2 billion defending against the peacemakers. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. Lee?
Pat, more evidence that the wealthy are leaving France in advance of possible new high tax rates. France's new socialist president wants a tax rate of 75% for those making more than €1 million a year. That is equivalent to about $1.25 million US. The head of Sotheby's Realty in France tells the London Telegraph that a large number of wealthy French families are leaving the country as a direct result of the proposals of the new government. British Prime Minister David Cameron says he would welcome those from France who would move to Britain and pay their taxes there. Pat?
I was over in France some time ago and had dinner with a wealthy man and his wife, and I said to them, they began to tell me the tax rate, and when they got through, as I remember, it was like 104% of their income. I mean, it was unbelievable. They have a tax on securities. They have a tax on real estate. They have a tax on income. They have a tax on corporation. Just loaded with power. And that's before Hollande got in power. And I said to him, why don't you go to Switzerland? Why don't you go to Monte Carlo? Why don't you go out of this country? He said, well, I'm a Frenchman. I was born in France. My family's from France, and I'm a Frenchman. So how many of these people who've got that patriotic itch are still around? We don't know. But apparently a lot of them are not that patriotic anymore, and they decide it's time to go. And there are many places they can go to. Say Monte Carlo is one, Monaco, they can go there tax-free. They can go to Switzerland and pay very minimal taxes. They can go to London, and it's the tax regime that is much more mild. It's there, but it's not as severe. And there are many other places they can go. Capital apparently goes where it's welcomed and stays where it is well treated, and it leaves when it's not well treated. And these things are very portable. Lee?
Pat, a court fight in Arizona could determine the right of states to stop funding Planned Parenthood. The country's largest abortion provider is suing Arizona to block enforcement of a law cutting off state dollars. Arizona lawmakers say they don't want any funds going to a group that provides abortions. Other states are passing similar laws, but Planned Parenthood is fighting back. Their suit claims the new law violates Medicaid patients' rights and several constitutional rights. Family members and churchgoers are celebrating the release of 2 Americans kidnapped in Egypt. Boston area pastor Michael Lewis and one of his church members, Lisa Alphonse, were abducted Friday along with their Egyptian tour guide. The Americans were traveling in the Sinai on a Holy Land tour. An Egyptian official says all 3 are now in the protection of Egyptian security officials. Family members back home say their release is an answer to prayer.
There's a lot, of joy. I'm exuberant. I have no words to express. I just want to be with my family. I want to hear my father. I want to hear my mother. Thank you very much.
The kidnapper freed the pastor and woman after officials promised they would work on releasing his uncle from prison. New York City's ban on trans fats in restaurant foods has helped people there cut back on the unhealthy fat. That is the finding from a study by the city's Department of Health. Trans fat is widely considered the worst kind of fat for your heart, and much of it is artificially produced for baking or a longer shelf life. Americans have been cutting back on trans fats for years, and many restaurants have also been reducing them. Pat?
Well, we've been warning people about trans fats for a long time, and they talk about the nanny state, and Bloomberg may be a little excessive, but so help me. He wants to keep those people healthy, and why not? Why not put some up? He's got a ban on smoking. He's got a ban on trans fats. What else has he banned, Terry? Do you know? Is that it?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean,
I tell you, at that point, I'm all for it. I'm not for the nanny state, but I do believe that we ought to limit the amount of harmful substances that are being sold by our restaurants and sold by our food processors. And if they're putting harmful stuff in the food, we shouldn't have to buy it. And we should, because you buy it innocently, you don't realize what's in there.
I was going to say, you don't have to buy it. That would be my...
Well, but you need to know. You need to be informed.
I agree.
Syria will not hesitate to use chemical weapons if the regime feels cornered. That's what the former Syrian ambassador to Iraq told the BBC. He defected last week and is currently the most senior diplomat to do so from Assad's regime. Fighting in Syria is now in the capital of Damascus, and pressure is mounting for tougher international action against the country. Since the fighting began last March, more than 10,000 people have been killed. Christians in Gaza have publicly protested what they say are forced conversions to Islam. Dozens of believers rang bells and chanted slogans after 2 Christians renounced their faith to become Muslims. Authorities say a man, a woman, and her 3 children are in hiding after converting to Islam. They say the couple fears retribution from their families. Now, Christians in Gaza have faced increased pressure since the Islamic militant group Hamas took over 5 years ago. Some fear that Christians in Gaza could disappear altogether due to fleeing and forced conversions. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.